TheoTRADE. This is Don Kaufman. It's November 20th, 2024. We are just minutes after the cash close here on this Wednesday afternoon. Of course, awaiting none other than Nvidia's earnings announcement. Look, it's Nvidia's world. We're just trading in it. Look, let's get to that and much more here, of course, on this TheoTRADE evening update. So S&Ps finished higher today. And if I sound a little bit surprised by that, because, well, I am. I mean, look, the S&Ps, they saw some pretty serious amounts of volatility. I mean, after all, SPOOs touched down to 58.80, rallied all the way to 59.40. And again, I'm pretty shocked by that because the range in today's trading, like it's real and it's spectacular. Things got a little bit wild, throughout the course of the day. In fact, in the sell side activity in the morning, like volume, it was rocking. It died out through the course of the day and kind of rallied back up. And, you can't help but think like, all right, maybe we're just kind of headed back up over here simply because Nvidia's got earnings. And in fact, if you look at Nvidia throughout the course of the trading day, there's no question that Nvidia just really in the last 2 hours of the trading session kind of got a bid back under it. It was driving a lot of the S&Ps. And again, any earnings announcement like this, they're so kind of like wild and like binary. And again, we're awaiting Nvidia's earnings. That's fine. I actually have a bullish butterfly. This is kind of what we call earnings flips, taking a shot at the upside expected move. And just give you a quick feel for that too. So the shares closed in and around, you can see where they are right now, about 146. So somewhere right around, again, 146. The expected move in here is about $13 and change. So I wrapped, and I traded my butterfly, okay, about an hour and a half ago, but I wrapped the fly right around the 157.5 strike. So for those of you who may know, what are you new? Okay, what I'm actually doing here is kind of playing like what I term pin the tail on the donkey. And if you look at this, and again, to just give you kind of the lowdown, somewhere around like that 146, right? And add about $13. All I'm trying to do is kind of peg that, hey, look, we're supposed to move about $13. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to move $13. It's a standard deviation. So when the earnings actually come out, it should move like up $13 or down $13. So I took the higher on this one. One of the reasons, though, I got bullish on here is not for like, oh, the fundamentals are this or, the technicals are that. It has nothing to do with that. Is I've actually taken some other bearish positions in the marketplace. Quite frankly, the bullish butterfly in Nvidia really kind of fits my position. And I also I don't mind saying I have a tough time trying to think about Nvidia earnings being anything but spectacular. But again, maybe that's priced in and they better be absolutely stellar. Here's one other aspect worth mentioning regarding Nvidia's earnings. And I was talking about this while I was live in TheoTRADE chat throughout the course of today. If you look at Nvidia, there's almost 25 billion shares in the float. So what that basically means is, every dollar this stock moves higher or dollar lower indicates about $25 billion of market cap moving. And you got to kind of, if you will, step back from this a second and realize with a $13 expected move, okay, you're looking right now, wait for it, for plus or minus $300 billion, okay, of market cap that are predicated on its earnings. And I paused for a second on that one. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter what the earnings are over here. $300 billion of capital is about to swing, like literally based on, a couple of seconds, a press release that comes out. So things are going to get violent. Specifically, they're going to get violent inside of the S&Ps. They're going to get violent inside of the NASDAQ futures. Okay, and you can actually see when I term like violent, you can actually see it. Little violence. I like a little violence in my trade, but you can see that actually reflected in the, of course, the implied volatilities here. And when I say the implied volatilities, kind of ironic is that we're still pricing in, even with only like seconds to go, to the QQQ. So the QQQ is the NASDAQ 100, right? And it's open 15 minutes after the bell. Okay, it's an ETF product, and ETF and index products are often open 15 minutes after the bell. And this thing is still pricing a $4 move. And the irony is we're not even 100% sure that the Nvidia earnings are going to be out. I mean, they could be out like any second. They could be out, 10, 15 minutes after the bell, but they're still pricing in like, look at the options in here. We're trading at 503 and change, close to 504. And if you take a quick glance with me, I think you guys will appreciate this. The at-the-money straddle, is still trading for $4. Okay, and here we have the expected move right around $4. Just to give you a quick feel for how wild this earnings announcement is. But when I talk about $300 billion, you have to have respect for that, because inside of the S&P 500, okay, there are only 25 companies even bigger than $300 billion of market cap. So what that basically implies is like Nvidia, just to give you a quick feel for it, Nvidia's move just in the earnings, okay, is similar to the market cap of almost Bank of America. I say almost Bank of America. Bank of America has a $350 billion market cap. So when Nvidia releases earnings, okay, if the stock went down, it's like Bank of America out of business. Like, that's how wild of a move that we're talking. In Nvidia, there's just no question, it's a wild child. And why do I call it a wild child? Its implied volatility, okay, is extreme for, almost $6 trillion market cap out there. $3.6 trillion market cap. Even some of the back month volatilities are sitting north of 50%. Obviously, oh, it's earnings. Yeah, but I'm talking like, look, you're looking months out, still 55 vol. Apple's nowhere near that. Apple's sitting at like a 20 vol. It's mellow in comparison. So a lot of risk, obviously, largely predicated specifically on Nvidia. But I want to move away from that for a second. Like, look, whatever. Nvidia releases earnings. It's an Nvidia world. We're all just living in it. I got it. Push all of that aside for just a moment, though. Okay. The magnitude of its earnings will clearly move markets substantially, and it'll set the tone for tomorrow's trading session. Great. Move past it. You got to move past it because we're still in this very serious situation inside of the bond market. The bonds are still hovering, if you will, in and around lows. Now, if you've been listening over the past 2 to 3 weeks, I keep talking about, like right around this 115 level inside of the ZB, that it's just a critical level. And you go, well, why is that such a critical level? Because if we get any more sell side activity in the bonds, okay, the notes, which is the 10-year, this is the interest rate associated with it, any more sell side activity, the notes get above that 4.5% range. And that, I think, to many is just an absolutely critical threshold. Okay, and at some point, you see the interest rates. And again, it's the interest rate that everybody keeps talking about, like the Fed's cutting, except interest rates keep skyrocketing. But at this point, at 4.5%, to me, it's a big time psychological breaking point. And we just, when it comes to the bond market, we're on the floor and we just can't get off the floor. Like, you're literally lying on the floor. You just cannot get off the floor. And it leaves us in a very precarious place, especially where, like, a trading session like today, you can talk all you want about why you think there's this kind of volatility, but people, these are big moves in the S&Ps. You're trading 59.50, you're trading then 58.80. We rally back up. The ranges in here are absolutely spectacular. You're seeing huge movement in volatility futures. Forget about VIX. You're seeing huge movement in volatility futures. Whether you look at this or not, it's the VVIX, it's the volatility index. I mean, this thing almost clipped 110. So when you look at like the VVIX, it's the volatility of the VIX itself. This thing gets above like 110. that's, often what I say, like, you're underneath your desk kind of rocking back and forth. Like this gets wild. And, this is where everybody's like, nah, the election has passed us. Nah, volatility has subsided. Yeah, I've heard it all before, but the election passed us. We dropped precipitously. By the way, this is just a, kind of a mistick over here, so don't worry about that. So volatility in the VIX drops, consistent with the election coming out, but it's been back building and no one's looking at that crap. They're just not looking at it. All people are looking at right now is, you pull up the spiders. Oh, it's a happy picture. We had a little bit of a sell-off over here, but the last couple of days are okay. We're waiting Nvidia's earnings, but Nvidia earnings, okay? Yes, as I said, they're going to set the tone for tomorrow's trading session. But you got to be careful because, again, no matter what we want to say about Nvidia, and it's Nvidia's world and we're all just trading in it, the volatility has absolutely kind of been back building. You're seeing, okay, signs of it all over the place and signs of excess. I was talking about Peanut the Squirrel, which is a coin, which is, was worth $2 billion. By the way, the market cap of Peanut the Squirrel has actually come down. And now we're seeing like volatility back building in here. We're still seeing the dollar continually ramp up. If you haven't looked at the euro lately, okay, that is just a spectacular move, if you will, to the downside. I mean, you're seeing a move that you may see a couple of times in a decade, and it's all occurring like literally in front of you. So the last thing to kind of focus on over here, and again, the QQQs, this just kills me. The Qs are still sitting here with this huge amount of volatility in them, and yet there's no earnings out from Nvidia. It's fine. Last thing, okay? Last thing I'm going to mention over here, the SPX. Often what I term the mother of all products. So the SPX this week, okay, anticipating somewhere just under $100 expected move. So you've got this expected move, and I'll give you the specifics, about $96. Where are we right now? We're higher. We're just kind of matching some of the highs from yesterday. But it was interesting today because we had literally pulled back to this central line means it's unchanged on the week. So you can see at this point, we're a hop, skip, and a jump away. If the earnings from Nvidia come out, boom, we're home. Don't anybody panic. Because again, as I said, like this is binary, Nvidia's earnings, I can't influence it. It's going to be out any second, right? But you're going to come up in the SPX, not the S&P futures, but you're going to come up in the SPX, and you're going to rally right into, if you will, the upper edge of the expected move. On the flip side of it, okay, if those earnings come out, okay, and they're negative, you could actually slide precipitously to the downside. And you go, whoa, that's, why do you see that? There is not established right now an effective or clean risk reward. I think there's upside potential. It's minimal, though, to the upside of the expected move. The downside, though, okay, is significantly larger. And that's something that you kind of want to focus on in trading is what do you believe the risk reward is in any given period of time? So the SPX can actually help you in differentiating some of that risk reward. As I said, the upside. What is the upside? All right, well, the upside is over here. Yeah, Nvidia comes out, we rally. All right, we rally up to like 59, like 68. So it's still, it's still a significant rally. But if we have some downside, you got to realize volatility is already pumped into this marketplace. This thing could rock, okay, and get killed. So at any given point in time, always try to assess some of that risk reward inside of your trade. Today, fairly unique. Again, with Nvidia's earnings on deck, okay, the fact that the bonds are actually sitting a little lower, volatility is already amped up, you still have quite the recipe for volatility into the remainder of this week. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTRADE. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.